Hey guys, what's up? Today, we're gonna take a look at what I consider to be the best ports, remakes, or remasters of JRPGs from previous generations on the Nintendo Switch. And please note that the list will be ranked according to how good the remaster is, not how good the game is. And with that clarified, let's begin! Number 10, Final Fantasy VII, 8, and 9. I'm including all three in one spot because they were initially digital until a physical version came out for 7 and 8 only. Also because they were remastered almost in the exact same way. All three of them are perfectly playable and enjoyable, but the new props are kinda mediocre if I may say so. Some major changes are mostly visual, but only with the characters. Backgrounds and everything else remain the same, which means they weren't exactly remastered at all. But I do have to admit the characters look gorgeous in my opinion. Nonetheless, all graphics were upgraded, so they definitely look better. Like many remasters nowadays, they have the option to speed up battles and exploration, which could definitely make those grinding sessions less monotonous. The controls, however, feel almost identical to the original PlayStation releases, which every now and then will remind me of tank controls. Other than that, including some patches here and there for certain bugs, that's all there is to say. They fixed a lot of small issues and details for these versions. I'm afraid to say they are the definitive versions to play of these three classics, but they only remastered a few substantial parts. They're still fantastic to play though. I just wish they could have done more for them. Number 9, The Alliance Alive HD. This one is a straight port with graphical enhancement from the 3DS version, so as you can clearly see right now it looks much better. It jumped from the 3DS 240p resolution straight up to 720p. Less aliasing, more detailed textures, better interface. Overall, only some minor changes that were mostly focused on the graphics. Story was left untouched, as was the gameplay technically speaking, because just like in the Final Fantasy remasters, you can also speed up battles. It's definitely useful to reduce the time it will take you to grind or bypass certain areas full of enemy encounters. But I wouldn't abuse it if I were you, cause depending on the situation, you might want to slow down and play normally in certain battles. I heard that the difficulty was rebalanced, which is good considering it had a few spikes here and there, but I didn't really notice the difference, so I can't vouch for that. The Alliance Alive was a fantastic game on the 3DS, and of course it had the dual screens. If that's not something relevant to you, however, I'd say this remaster is definitely the definitive version to play nowadays. Number 8, Code of Princess EX. Originally released on the Nintendo 3DS as well. Ironically, the remaster of this action RPG is full of pros and cons. First of all, the interface can feel clunky sometimes compared to the original. Next, certain statuses changed, like the speed being gone, and others focusing more on boosts than the actual regular increase. English dub was removed for some reason, but that might not be a negative feature for some of you. Among other small details, Nickel is screwed up a little. Nonetheless, the pros simply overshadow whatever problems this EX version might have. The fact that they added a local 2-player co-op mode is more than enough to praise it. Just like with the Alliance Alive, the graphics look absolutely gorgeous compared to the original, and in my personal experience, it's much easier now to get a grasp of the situation during battle. So graphics are notoriously improved, alright, although they can look pixelated at times, maybe because of the Switch standard 720p resolution against the fast-paced movements of the characters. But overall, it's yet another cool remaster on the Switch, exclusive to it by the way. Number 7. Grandia 1 and 2. These two were digital only for a long period of time until Limited Run Games printed a bunch of copies. Anyway, my praise goes specifically to the first game, which seems to have been a combination of all the great aspects of the PS1 and the Sega Saturn version we never got. Besides looking pretty good, it also included widescreen support and several visual enhancements. It plays really well, which means this might just be the definitive version of the game. The same cannot be said about Grandia 2, despite being remastered based on the PC Anniversary Edition. But that version's code was based on the Dreamcast original release, so it's alright. However, there are some issues here and there, like some bugs, text errors, and small frame drops during battle. Either way, it still plays quite decently. Both of them now include a dual audio feature, which means you can play them with the Japanese voice acting if you want to. A hard mode is also present now in case you want to challenge yourself. Still, my biggest gripe is, as a collector, is that it didn't have a physical release for a while, now having one, but obviously limited, rare and expensive, thanks to the aforementioned company. Number 6. Valkyrie Chronicles Remastered. After the success of the PS4 remaster, this masterpiece was brought to the Switch. Digital only, sadly, which is the only reason why I'm not ranking it higher. Plus, it's a remaster that increased the resolution a little bit and improved the graphics. But the differences between this and the PS3 original version aren't that really noticeable, especially not on the Nintendo Switch. But the fact that you can play this amazing game on a portable system speaks volumes. Also, it includes all the DLCs you had to pay for in the original version. And the most important aspect, in my opinion, is that it includes the 2 extra chapters, one of them revolving around Selvaria from the Empire's point of view. These 2 were also DLCs before, but the remastered versions already have them. So far, there aren't any performance issues reported, so it runs perfectly fine even on the Switch. Which means, from my perspective, it performs better than all of the previous games we've seen so far. I wish they could have added something extra, more new features, but okay, it's still a beautiful RPG as it is. This and Final Fantasy IX are my favorite games in this list, and they should have been number 1 and 2 respectively. But let's not forget, I'm ranking the quality of their remasters, not how good the games are. Number 5. Trials of Mana Remake. This one is a full remake of the original Seiken Densetsu 3, which we also got for the first time in Collection of Mana. As a new reimagining of this fabulous action RPG, they did a pretty good job in my opinion. Square Enix didn't invest a lot of money here, and it sure shows in a lot of areas, but with its low budget, I'd say they delivered just fine. Nevertheless, it's not the best remake out there. My 2 biggest issues with it are the 3D character models looking very expressionless when they talk. It just seems as if there was a big lack of passion and enthusiasm, or overall emotions that can easily kill the mood. And also, it does have Japanese voice acting, which is better than the essentially mediocre English audio. I could complain about the camera issues as well, but I guess they wanted you to feel the same entrapment there was in the original. On the positive side, besides what I already said about the graphics looking magical, colorful and beautiful, the transition from the original battle system to this one felt nice. It's different, and this one is much less technical and more hack and slash oriented. That works fine for me, but they could have added better combos. Controls are nice, still with a little twist of clunkiness, which is totally okay, otherwise it wouldn't feel like a true Mana game at all. In the end, this is a great remake, just not one of the best out there, as I feel the production and development could have been a whole lot better. Still, I strongly recommend it, even if you never played the original. Number 4. Langrieser 1 and 2 Remakes. Another full remake now of the first 2 Langrieser games. Remember that we only got the first one on the Genesis, and it was called Warsong. Well, we're talking here about a company with much less budget than Square Enix, so I personally forgive them for reusing these types of graphics. The resolution is still alright in my book, so I didn't exactly resent the fact that its looks lean more towards a mobile RPG than anything. However, it easily makes up a hell of a lot with all the new added features. Rebalanced difficulty, considering the first games were extremely tough and unfair. Difficulty settings, New Game Plus, which allows you to retain your levels and armor, or to remove everything and play on Nightmare mode. The former is important as these two games are full of different routes that can strongly vary depending on your decisions. That's right, these remakes are true role-playing games where your choices directly affect the story, playable characters, and the many different endings. Another fantastic feature is that they let you switch at any given time between the remake art style or the original character design by Satoshi Urushihara. The same with the mind-blowing soundtrack they both have. In conclusion, leaving aside the mobile-looking style, this is a fantastic remake. In my opinion, it is almost exactly what all remakes or remasters should be like. Number 3. Final Fantasy XII: The Zodiac Age. Another great example on how a remaster should be done is Final Fantasy XII. Its first attempt on being remastered on PC some years ago. In that version, there was a new license and job system which carried over on this remaster for modern consoles. It has tons of new features, which is why I'm ranking it so high on the list. Goodbye the convoluted license system from the original. Now characters can have one of the 12 license boards available. You can directly control guest characters, something you couldn't do before, including the Espers, and yep, they can level up as well. After a certain boss battle, characters will be allowed to equip a second job, and of course, like most of the remasters we've seen so far, battle and navigation can also be sped up. An important new feature is the rebalanced difficulty. The original game was a brutal grindfest, especially if you didn't know what you were doing. The Zodiac Age takes a much more balanced approach to its difficult shenanigans. Graphics look gorgeous, of course, obviously thanks to the improvement over textures and visuals. You can also choose between the English or Japanese voice acting, as well as the original soundtrack or the remastered one. And those are just a few of the several improvements on this new version. I may not be the greatest fan ever of this game, even though I did love it on the PlayStation 2, but damn, this is what every remaster should be like. Number 2. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. There seems to be some confusion regarding this new version. Since the character design and art style were changed, it could be considered as a remake instead of a remaster. It's a mixed opinion on this design change, but I personally liked it more than the original. Anyway, leaving aside the visuals, we've got a newly arranged soundtrack and the option to switch back to the original. Auto Run while navigating, friendlier interface for the menus, markers on side quest locations, and character positions during battle, rebalanced difficulty, including casual and expert modes, and a big graphical improvement among other things. One of the most important additions including in this version is Future Connected, a brand new epilogue which acts as a direct sequel, taking place 1 year after the events of the game. And wow, it's not just a 2 or 3 hour extra episode, no, it's almost a whole continuation which can last for over 10 hours of playtime. Man, it takes money, patience, and tons of effort to create a remake or a remaster such as this, so I understand why some RPGs pale in comparison in terms of quality to this one or the Zodiac Age. The more content and improvements, the better, I say. So yeah, the title got it right. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Number 1. Tales of Vesperia Definitive Edition. The king of this video, however, has got to be for another definitive version. Tales of Vesperia is a full remaster, but of the original PS3 version that never came out of Japan. Not the 360 one, No visuals were changed like in Xenoblade, and all the art style remained the same. But just like Xenoblade and Final Fantasy XII, several additions were included. Full voice acting the entire game, Fling being a permanent party member, the new character present in the original PS3 version is also there. Additional characters and NPCs from the anime movie, huh? New skits, new subplots, new events, additional music, a couple of new bosses, new artists, equipment and skills, several DLC customs included from the other Bandai Namco games, new minigames including a racing one for Repeat, new post-game dungeons, and a new EX dungeon. You can also go around everywhere with any character in your party. Those were the most relevant aspects for me, but I'm definitely not counting several other small new features. Yes, the game looks beautiful and better than its previous generation counterparts. Difficulty was left untouched, but I did feel the controls were better here. It plays masterfully on the Switch too, and obviously the Switch version lets you play portable. In my opinion, it is nearly a perfect remaster and a clear example on how other companies should remake or port their RPGs to newer systems. I do have one honorable mention, and that is a Star Ocean First Departure R. Remake, remaster, it's just a damn port. I didn't include it in the list because it did bother me a little bit that they changed the art style, the character design. It looked way different, and for some particular characters it did bother me. And other than that, it plays almost exactly the same as the PSP version, so while still a great game and a great version to play, it's not exactly one of the best remasters out there. I also didn't include collections like the Collection of Mana or those Atelier collections because they are, well, collections, not exactly remakes or remasters of any kind. That's all for today, people. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends. See you next time!